Sangaya Namo Guru Yambe Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sangaya Namo Guru Yambe Namo Buddhaya Namo Dharmaya Namo Sangaya Kande Laje Gwenje Dogan Rabga Shosang Bongde Chunzi Chöje Gyabo Gwenje Losang Sedan Jeba Nede Shepso Dönje Nanga Senje Bende Jeze Lama Jebe Zonga Dalo Debe Sena Shinjo Tenpa Geshe Geja Shusho Sheje Chungwe Jave Lodre Kesa Nave Yenju Tabe Beye Lame Zebe Tongde Tenbe Dende Lacha Yewo Chiye Nazo Medo Chishin Dobe Nangsen Deja Weisha Yedu Chudin Yazo Shena Xingzhuo Chela Cheba Kanxi Tongmen Dune Sabo Lingwa Yesu Migi Jiji Kebarang Dongba Sumji Mede Ningne Jeban Jabe Soso Ningme Dede Mande Dubla Chöje Bangbe Denjo De Gombo Chöje Labjin Zeba Daja Samba Tabe Cheze Laman Damba Kenan Chögu Kala Kenze Jente Cheda Samben Deje Sema Sabje Chöje Chawa Abdo Namda Vese Yingle Shenba Shonjo Kola Chado Mingan Tame Nago Sogo Rabda Side Bando Mino Demba Dazo Chinye Sabe Gewa Tendan Dowa Kwela Ka Chize Losan Damba Ye Dembe Ningbo Rendo Seje Mime Sebe Dejin Jere Time Kembe Wangbo Jambe Tubo Mali Jomze Sawe Kanjin Kebe Zogjen Zong Tabe Shala Sowan De Mingme Sebe Dejin Jere Time Kembe Wangbo Jambe Tubo Mali Jomze Sawe Kanjin Kebe Zogjen Zonga Losan Tabe Shala Sowa Mime Sebe Dejin Jere Si Time Tebo Mali Jomze Sanwe Da Hanjin Kebe Zojian Zong Losan Tabe Pandin Zawe Lama Rinpo Taso Chiuro Benden Densho Kajin Chenpe Gwane Cheso Kusun Toje Ngwedu Zedu Pandin Zawe Lama Rinpo Taso Nyingara Benden Densho Kajin Chenpe Gwane Chodan Timo Ngwedu Zedu Pandin Zawe Lama Rinpo Taso Nyingara Benden Densho Gaden Chenpe Chodan Bubado Shu Masan Jume Sheram Harunche Maje Manga Namge Ngowo Sozo Rari Yishe Chuyu Tuzon Yebe Shanze Lo Dea Ta Gade Para Samga Bodhi Soha Dea Ta Gade Para Bodhi Soha Dea Ta Gade Para Samga Bodhi Soha Gere Tongda Jaju Shiva Damit Tenpa Dorjee Bezo Tsogyo Ne Trashi Yo Sa Shin Be Jo Je Me Do Da Toje chonan la janjo mando dane yazo dage chujuran jebe sonam je rola benje sanje roba sho sanje shada gaje sanjo vada dane jaze je dage shiji je rola benje sanje roba sho Chöda Zoye Chonan La Janjo Bado Dane Dage Chujun Jibe Sonan Jen Rola Sanjen Rola Sho Simje Tao Jie Don Tosha Lana Mewa Yanta Wa Zobe Sayi Huwa Shi Jini Yo Tabo Shi Ti Shi De Tambi Shue Sen Nyambi Gulu Changyu Si Chema Sinji Se Dani Sema Let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it bodhicitta motivation or the altruistic motivation seeking complete enlightenment for the benefit of all other sentient beings. At least with that kind of contrived bodhicitta, altruistic motivation, we should all participate in this Bodhisattva's discourse on the perfection of wisdom gone beyond. So we have been looking at how things could not arise from a permanent cause. In other words, we have been discussing refuting anything that is permanent as a cause of producing effect or anything else. Right.
Pinto Didea, May the Yaman Jejaba, Yaman, no major, the mother. Some of get some of the musician, but what you mean, but that was painted to your marriage. There's a Juataba Geshe, I take me to see. So, because it is what I call you also said, Geshe, also said, ridiculous. The amount of that is also said, also said, she or the Jigdish Shao, because who in Jigdish did go to the lawyer, you are pembered down to doing any charges, or did I hear here?
So we are on page 170 of this English translation of the guide by Stephen Batchelors. Actually, we talked about this, but I think I should have went back again to this, just a reminder. So we have been discussing what is called Vajra-pronged analytical reasoning, investigating causes. Yeah? And so things could not be produced by a permanent cause. Yeah? And with regard to that, there are a couple of things that we will look at. The number one is how, certain schools of thought, non-Buddhist, they claim that Wangju, Ishvar, the divine being, is a permanent being, but he has created the whole universe and the world. And how did he do that? Intentionally. He said, I'm going to create a world. And so for that, I need to create the elements, right? Earth, water, fire, all of those things. And that's how the world has come into existence. So we are looking at that claim and said, that's not possible. First, we would like to ask a clarifying question to those schools of thought. What do you really mean by Ishvar, right? Wangju in Tibetan. Yeah. Now, if you say that Ishvar is the name we give to elements, earth, water, fire, right? And these are the causes through which a world has been created. Well, as a Buddhist, we also accept that these elements constitute our environmental world. So then there is nothing for us to debate or argue with each other. It's just a matter of labeling, nomenclature, right? You say it's Ishvar, but we say it's element. So there's nothing to debate here. We both agree. Yeah. But you claim that these elements, natural elements, are permanent. So we cannot accept that, right? How can earth, water, fire be a permanent element, and then that somehow created the world? So that is, not possible. And if something is permanent, then it would have to exist all the time, isn't it? There shouldn't be the case where things happen sometimes when causes conditions come, and then they don't arise when cause and condition are there. That kind of occasionality, right, randomness should not be there, right? If something is permanent, either it must exist forever, or it should not have existed at all, right? That should be the case. So therefore, your claim that elements, earth, water, fire, as permanent, creating the world is not feasible, right? And that's what is being, pointed out.
What they say that did so Lumba Joji, so getting to Minda and take it. Ming Minda Maboy, Tondajiva shouting, says your chair, the just on the also double just also said in the carriage, I told also said Koronguzi in his word. So the Tondajiva Minka says that what Maboya, the Lumbasu Ming Maboya, or take that. Said also said the money in Joan and Jungus Lagina, Chibari there, remember in the carriage. Said I also say Koron Tondan to carriage, but also the carriage. with that teaching. Teaching the also say this or the law also say law also say that Jide go about killing or Jide go about killing it, that also does that. You should do any because could you killing a matter?
No.
That number Sanjay, the Kubabo Yamars, so the Simpsons also run less, she did less, so less, the to donate Jesus Shadima, Jide Songedo to Kubabo Yamaris, within Vida, Keva the Direshavara.
So the point that has been made here is, first you claim Ishvara as a permanent cause of everything that has been created. So we would like to ask you a clarifying question. What do you mean by Ishvara? Just tell us. Now, if you say that we use the label Ishvara to mean natural elements or water, fire, well, then really, it's just a matter of calling something by different names. Just like Geshe said, in the world we have hundreds of different languages. We can agree with whatever that thing is, but it may be called by 100 different names. So we are not going to debate on the names, right? Because we all agree with the meaning. It can be called by X, Y, Z. So there's no debate here at all. But on the other hand, if you say that the elements are permanent, then that's not feasible. Permanent elements cannot undergo changes and produce something, so this is, in other words, a school of thought, a non-Buddhist school of thought, i.e. in Hinduism, my footnote, where they accept the notion of creator, God as a creator, and the God is called Ishvara, right? Ishvara is the creator of the universe, that would accept. So Geshe says maybe the parallel thing is, as he understands it a little bit, that in Christianity, God is the creator of the world. A similar notion is there. But in Buddhism, as a Buddhist, we don't accept any such creator of a universe, right? Buddhist whole thing is explained through the law of karmic action and results, or through the theory of karma, isn't it? Whatever we are going through experience, these are the results of our own individual karmas or collective karma that we have created together. So basically, the world we live in and whatever things we go through individually and commonly, these are the results of karma. There is no creator who has crafted the world, like, okay, this is how I'm going to shape it, right? This is the world, I want to make it up, right? There's no somebody there designing it. It's our individual and collective karmas producing all of that, experiences in the world.
What is it? That also said, that also said, in the Jumatu, she in Jumatu, yeah, this is killing what you said, and Jumata was killing Marwanda. She said, Jumata was killing me, said that, what did you mercy? Times the Chevan Shembo Yeves. Yeah, no Sasan Joanna, Onju, Jew, music source. But the time without said that, because you in the middle of each other was that also that way incident. And you give a thing where I said, in the minute that Joan is in a Joan double jigmar was said, and double jail maris. Double Jenna Namaku Jejava, Yamana Nayan Jama. Baru you, the Baru Jessina, come without Sarva, what is it?
So the Buddhist standpoint is this: if anything is a cause of any effect, it must necessarily be an impermanent phenomenon. In other words, logically speaking, right, all the causes must necessarily be impermanent. There's a perversion. If something is a cause, then it has to be impermanent. There is no fidgeting ground here, right? So what the Buddhists are telling those who accept Ishvara as a permanent cause of everything is that, what do we mean by Ishvara? if we say Ishwar are the natural element, then it's just a matter of labeling, and we also accept that, so we have nothing to argue with each other. But if you say that those natural elements are permanent, then we say that's not feasible, right? How can permanent things can produce anything? If a permanent cause produces something, it has to produce this all the time, constantly, or it should not have produced it at all, right? Because when we look at cause and effect, things change and then they bring effect, right? Things don't remain the same, and they bring effect. No.
어디에 제가 이제 엄청나게 전에 어느 딱봐 샤미 지금 무슨 킬링 거를 중앙 중기가 가는 사지 메다와리 세대 뜻선다 아니 되게면 두세 이처럼한테 중앙 중기도 어느 다니 시험이 되게면 두 세대 어느 딱봐 사야 될 되게면 두세 세대 중앙 중기도 메다와리 딱봐 말이스 어디서 그래 이제도 샤미 이제 지구도 계시 미시에 딱봐도 라이요진당 라이바당 구아셔당 서정원들라 유원나네 대당 대달리 노베 제수 도마당 제토마당 계시시베 메다바다 라이요메와다 사면신 강바소지 사면신 강바소지세 이제 강바소지 곰자니당 매장을 출발비에서 중화대는 어주 니마이데 생이 메드바 무게 등주고 싫어 어디다 그 중화서 저 언식 샤미 지보다 더 하드스 해야지 되고도 중화서야 되는데 거기서 그게 내자서 그 그래서 가지고 중화서에서 그 강배워 지야 들으면서 라스야 이 꾸리야 들이 말이스 세대 꾸리야 들이 말이 아니고 이 참이야 말이고 샤데 뭐여리 재미있는 말이지. 제가 다봐 말이고 준도시 집에서 용거 제가 저한테 중앙 중교 되게 나오셔야 돼. 다셔야 돼. 되면 다 건지 되서야.
So as the debate or the argumentation continues, so the Madhyamikans are telling them, when you look at the defining characteristics of Ishwar, right, they really don't apply to the elements. You said that Ishwar is permanent. Okay? You say that Ishwar has intentionality. Ishwar is volitional, right? You say that Ishwar is partless, Chame. You say that Ishwar is a single entity, right? And then you say that Ishwar is divine, clean in nature, right? And but elements are not all of that, isn't it? Element is not permanent, it's impermanent, and elements are not partless, they have parts, and elements are what we call do not have intentionality or volitionality. So if you look at the defining characteristics of Ishwar, they really don't apply to the elements that you claim to constitute the world, And as Krishna said, when we look at the products or the effects of elements, whether it's the earth that we walk on, well, earth is not clean. We walk on it, we step on it, it's dirty. Well, mountains, people climb up the mountains. They are really not staying clean like Ishwar. People step their foot on it, right? So they do not have those defining characteristics of Ishwar as you claim.
어디 다다다 어디서 딱 봤을 가서 중앙 주구주근데 지금도 중앙에 딱 봐다 되게 말이 야 끌어와 가게 기적 가게 싸우면도 제가 저런 중앙식에는 중앙에 딱 봐 말이 중앙 안주 자체가디 되게 문득스 sigo jidang de sigo ra da karsa chiro zo pi ge zo jizu ge changxie zo jizu ge se shi shida wa de ge ina onju li ge ge xia ji
Nice.
这个这的刚才说是就是小的没找到我的个是他的那做的实在吧的长线的效果是吧？
No, sure.
我的现在这个对吧？他现在都给两个是就是下样的现在能够这对对没找带的嘛都知道靠着这个说的，长线的实在不是做这是兄弟用的我这做现在干过，现在这个是听我的。
No, sure. So as Geshe mentioned this some time ago, that when we say non-Buddhist schools of thought or tenets, in this context, you primarily refer to different schools of Hindu thoughts there, right? And there are many, so we can't talk about every one of them, but somehow, we might be able to classify them, and they are somehow the way they assert things a little bit different here, there, but more or less they are kind of affiliated to these two notions. One is, as I call it, Charaba, Vaisheshikars. They claim that Ishwar a permanent cause of everything. Right? So many schools of Hindu, they talk about creator, and it might be a little different here and there, but primarily the same thing, isn't it? Then we have the Samkhayas, Tangcheba in Tibetan, enumerators. So enumerators claim that there is something called primordial substance, Jizo, right? And that's permanent again, right? That is the cause of everything. So these two schools of Hindu thoughts can maybe more or less, deal with many other Hindu thoughts. They are a little bit here different, but same. Okay. So once we are able to understand these concepts and refute them, then we can understand how many other Hindu thoughts are not feasible, in this context.
What is that? Because Nanga Takba in Tapa Nanga Onju Shena Onju the Nanga mind, Jibi Chevi Chedi, Le Yomi Sher Da Tapa Onju Mende Da Purik Nika Ngane Kasim Sher Onju de Sayi Mejebi Sher Shiva Boyimba Mimbe Mungi Yondida Mede Shena Samja member Ye Shiva Boy Onju de Sabasha Yu Mebena Jigen Ji Shiva Boy Cheye Samdi Yubi Jigi Jadi Sabe Yu Devi Onju Jeshawa Te Dabushi Yima Cheye Cheye Mishibi Sheros. That is the Tawashi, but you also Nanga is our driving singing the Yomaradi. She not Tawas, she don't stop. Tashika, the interviewer, that he Nanga also singing the Yomara. She said, she said, Nanga also went to Yomaris. Nanga Tawara. This is the Jimari. She said, the Tashika will was said, Tabakazama is true. So did it. Data Onju Mai, Data was a Data was a Shiru Gavajiwari, or their Onju Rigmaris. Puri Nika Nani Gasibis, Data was the Pembo the Ripajiba Bakataris, that Kashi Kasarawa.
No.
Pembos and the Souk Changshi.
No.
Requesting under that law, the Shiva Siatirwa.
No.
So the data was a Purigam did do my Gasa. Oh, they got there the Tobojo Tashika requested.
No.
Just says on the car, but is it musical to Wendy to Shebu the car, the Mari. Tashika said what it is.
So we are on page 171 of the same translation, And as the debate continues, so some of the things that are brought up is that space, Namka in Tibetan, or Akash in Hindi and Sanskrit, is a cause of everything. Well, space is a permanent. So again, we have a problem with that. Anything that's permanent cannot be cause of anything. In the first place, a space cannot be Ishvara because space has no volitionality, intention, isn't it? So a permanent thing cannot undergo any change, so therefore it cannot produce anything else, right? So that's not feasible. Talk about that. Then another point is that, we are talking about, we call it a self, right? Atma, or soul, permanent. And that has been refuted already a long time ago, right? There cannot be a permanent self, right? And that is a cause of everything else at all, because we look at self at two different levels. Self relating to something that is a material form, right? And the self that is more like a cognition. In either case, right, if it's a permanent, there cannot be a permanent material or permanent cognition that is a self. So that has been refuted already. So it's almost like in my footnote, don't bring it back. We already talked about it, refuted, right? Geshe didn't say that. That's a footnote. That's why I said footnote. Then the third one we'll talk about is they said, well, Ishvara is really inconceivable. It is beyond thoughts. Nobody can think about what is Ishvara. We will look at that. So before we get to the inconceivability, a few other things I still want to talk about is that, how all this debate are coming about, right? With the things that we can directly witness or perceive, right? I think we really don't need to argue about it. People know that you can grow vegetables, right? There's nothing logic to say vegetables, you put vegetable grow, right? Or the people cultivate field, right? Those are not so much the subject of the debate here. But then as we really investigate the cause and effect very deeply and push it to the furthest extent, then that's where the question comes, where does it all begin? That big question, isn't it? the mega question. Well, now different schools of thought have different answers to that. Like, where does it all begin? Well, then here many Hindu schools said it began with Ishwar. That is the first cause of everything. Somebody say it's the primordial substance. There is another one, right? It begins with a space. And so from Buddhist point of view, all of these things are not feasible beginning of universe or causes of universe. So Buddhists posit that karma is the cause of the universe and all of our experiences, and there is no beginning to the karma. You cannot say that, well, this is where karma starts. You cannot demarcate it, isn't it? Yeah. And so when Buddhists kind of advance that notion, and I guess some people take little issue with that, like, wow, you're using karma a little, overusing it, isn't it, kind of thing, right? Wouldn't it be better, as His Holiness said during one of his teachings, some people say, that's why you begin everything with karma. First talk about, like, say, few conditions, elements here, and then the karma interacts with it, and then it comes. That's much easier than you always tell the story with the karma. But Geshe said, then if we go with that, it becomes much more problematic, isn't it? Then we are starting beginning somewhere here. First there are these things, and then karma comes and intersects it, right? Then many more questions arise rather than resolving it, right? But if we say you start with karma, then those questions don't come up, right? So karma has no beginning. You cannot say karma started here at all. No.
제가 남바 상시에서는 애네디 지대거 계는 거 말고 소소 줘버리지. 어디서 다 뒤께졌지. 그래서 이제 이번에서 뒤께 소 강원 이슈된 스타 자만 보셔도 시바보 언주 뒤께 기분되방 쇼컨히 인시지와나 다그시나 다다가 되던 사선 유한남다 언주랑 뭐 정정데 되는 다바 이는 메는데 예바죠 뒤에나 다다가 계신 리브 미룽신 사선 유한남다 언주 다바세네 계시기 줄면인데 다발에 제시기 유력해야 미래비 실 온주게 시바면오스 세다 다시 온주세야 현재 주에서나 근데 다바 인시지실데 애니 코 디비제 들샤야 말이스 그 다바 인시 디비제 들샤는 야면은 디비제가 야면은 나야 메제 어디래지 뭐지 바로 디비제 따로 야 메제시야 디제 반전 메인다 세다 다다가 가서 온주 다다가서 가가 주리에 말이 거기서 가르쳐서 다바이 미치 이거 이제 가르쳐 다바이도 주라메오시 그 유네 유지면은 미치 루에서 얘네 야면은 다바리 디비제제바 야면은 나야 미제바 어디 가는지 대모스도 이해도 와라 다베는 것도 동도 디비 가래나 매도 인지 뒤뒤 찍으면 이제 뒤도 다와리 찍고 찍어 말아. 세다 뒤관시잖아. 세다 다와이네 뒤에 뒤다도 제제시고 세다 뒤에 그게 지금까지 가래도 뒤도 제야 되면 뒤다 제제 되면도 왔지. 뒤에다 다와이 줄때 되면 두스. 그때 내내도 뒤에서다.
So, Madam, you can say that a permanent self, of course, cannot be a cause of things, because permanent cause cannot undergo any kind of changes there, and if something is permanent, I mean, there's no we can talk about. What we call cause and effect, or a producer and a product, isn't it? That you cannot talk in that kind of relational, context. And as Geshe said before, if something is permanent and if we were to produce an effect, hypothetically speaking, it would have to produce that effect all the time, right? Because permanent cannot go out of existence. Or, hypothetically speaking, it should not have produced anything at all, right? That would be the two possibilities there. But that's not the case. Our own direct observation experiences contradict that, isn't it? Flowers can only grow at the right seasons. At the wrong season, they don't grow. So that is that occasionality, right? There is the that randomness, isn't it? And trees, like they shed their leaves at different seasons, then they grow back refreshed. So all of these things tell us that things are impermanent, right? Because they show all of this permanent, shall we say, manifestation aspects there. Yes.
我听你讲是他变成同一个就这个，没希望那希望是只扎到手里的人浪上这个，这边没见，这我是中国，这边吧，这都不给，说每天那当这不这都是不给，这个的你就开始这个的，我是我中国嘛是的，你这个的我们两个结果也是，现在安心说的我的人那个车个，然后有的结果是，但他妈也别。 내도 내당 상해 쇼리 가가니 아니 저가 왜 내든지 너무 사이 내든지 와리스 그때 맞아 제일 어느 딱 발레는 집에 제한테 되게 말이 딱 봐인다 그 가르스는 어서 집에 바로 용 뭐라고 그러지 윤도도 뒤에서다 이 거딱 봐줘야 유지 타도도 돼 봐. 그딱 봐게는 그 윤도 진짜 하면서 그 더버 가져 들어가라 이말 야나 야와 너고 누지 뭐지 펜도자 용바라 펜도자 면은 그 삼지 집게 되는 미제 되게 말아 그래서 뒤에 되는 거가 도토야 서고라 어디에다
So as the debate or argumentation continues, so Madhyamikans are saying that a permanent Ishvar in any different forms that is permanent still cannot be a cause of things here. From Buddhist point of view, right, if something is a cause producing an effect, it has necessarily be an impermanent. Like say, in the case of perceptions are dependent upon their respective objects, isn't it? The visual perception only arises when it sees a form, right? It has to have that objective condition. Auditory perceptions, it arises when a sound is produced. It catches it, isn't it? So all of this shows that there is occasionality and that kind of thing happening. It's not happening all the time. If there's no sound, there's no auditory perception. If there is no visible form, there is not going to be visual perception. And also the good and bad experiences, or happiness and unhappiness, or pleasures and displeasures that we have been experiencing since beginningless time, all of these are the results of our own good and bad karmas. Good and bad karmas have produced all these good and bad experiences so in our lives. So if we assert something as permanent, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, hypothetically speaking, it has to remain good forever, or it has to remain bad forever. It cannot be good for a while and become a bad and then a good, right? That means it's not permanent, right? Yeah.
Jibu Gangal, two Jews, you were a dandy mains. And the court, you talk by the dandy you go shower that he goes over, so that picture got love to show. So that is the double judicat, says also double for a man, God. That the only double killing God, person. Any lay Namja, Namwana, you came along. Any bag to do, yeah, time, what better. Give a young amount of thing I must say to inside. So I get the country you with the Haku Morati, Shiva was killing whatever. That number the Shiva was killing Maris. This seems a so lesa ne there seni ngom sa ke jungu yang lesa wa sa ke but dire le kora den jungro ma je shiwa bo su yo ma ri sil de da ne go 그 뉴제저 메서 책으로 하시는 게 레고다.
먼저 먼저 되고 된 진민지 긴고 죽사지 되고 그거에서 리체대로 가게.
라.
근데 케알라나 렌데 딜리아 가서 통마 매버서다 디테게 말 이제 이제 고 죽사지 콘서 케알랭 거 옹주 케알랭 거.
제제 통마 매어 케만 다 콘조 집어보 케나 통마 케알랭 거로.
와래.
이 가게데 찍는 찍는 거다 가게 다짜짜 당고 그래야지 뭐라.
나네.
어다 들어있는 집어보시오라.
No. So as Krishna says that these schools of thought where they accept whatever that thing as a creator, there has to be creator of everything. And so then they think there has to be beginning, right? And that's why some schools, they propose Ishvar as the creator of everything. That's the beginning of everything. And somebody says that it will be the primordial substance. That's the beginning of storyline, somewhere there, right? And whereas Buddhists say that there doesn't have to be beginning somewhere, right? So karma is what has created both the world and the inhabitants within. And so based upon our own experiences as we do, we create some karmas. We might experience their results. We might create new karmas, or right? All these karmas are created and then, experienced, so these are not permanent at all. And so one of the big reasons about refuting a permanent cause in any form is what we call occasionality, isn't it? That is it, right? If something is permanent, it has to exist forever. But if something exists for a while at different times, under different circumstances, situation, not at another time, then that shows it's not permanent. That is what we call occasionality there, right? Cause and conditions come, things happen. Cause and condition not more, things don't happen. Then things happen, right, under different circumstance, condition. So that tells us that, they could not have been produced by a permanent cause.
Oh, dear, I did regard of Hartan was a Jutabaina in the Yaman and Dibutaba Jeva Yaman. Ben Dibutaba Major, Noya Major, or think I was dog or take nobody didn't do. That you teach Chaba Drova Tetakarza Diburinga in the Jutaba by Mede Gola. Jutak on Zutak Being Dibuya. Medebes, only the Jibi shower 2 times a daddy, she Shiva Mende, she go with chavos. The also duty, Shiva bones, Jibuka, you also in that, and Jibu the Tabari. Get then, get Jabari, Major got San Shamu sugars. Said that the Major got San Shadow. Chino Karina Djibouti, something younger meadow, the stone doors here, Kid good remember Ganga Jundo do you with the dandy get the Jayamara. This on the any Jutava money, but Dinaku do so did. So what he do is at that day. The only Jibjevi. Tamsi made she go cheros or the also Dava Jigana and Jibutabji Yaman Jega, Yamana Mijava, she wrote them into a bottle of Jeparo Bija she would do. Tell then also Dava Jimai with the Hako to do so what is it?
So the reasoning or the logic, we say Gyeltsen, here is that, if Ishvar, a permanent being, is a cause of everything, then all the things that he or they create must also be permanent, right? How could a cause be permanent and the effect be impermanent, But that's not the case. Then what happened to these flowers? They grow only at the right seasons, and at the wrong season they grow. So what happened to that one, right? If Ishwar created the flowers, right? So why flowers don't exist permanently like Ishwar himself or themselves? Why do they have to grow at different seasons and not at all? But that shows these results are impermanent, right? They're not ever. if the results are impermanent, what that tells us, indicate is their causes are impermanent as well, could not be a permanent one. Right? That's part of the logic, the reasoning that's applied here. Or, as we said before, if something is permanent, it could not have produced anything at all forever, isn't it? Or it should have produced something all the time, constantly. If Ishvara is a cause of anything, in my footnote, as a flower, then he should be producing flower every time, all the time. The flowers should be, right? But that's not the case, you know.
Ti shiva mebe, yujen shen yuva mena, ti dribu jewa di kongla dewa jode, lara leva mebe. Ti shi yenji shen la teni gona, jen tenya tema ta anju ke, shi shobi shiro. Tidari memba, yujen shen la teni gona, the question Bishop Eugene some corner never to go. Nearly good relationship against Soba to the Djibouti Juyimba Georgie. Also, Ramachin Djibouti Dagi, also Ramachin Djibouti Dagi. You mean you just saw now, also. Kya mide kya, do minibe, mige anju meba, dribu kya shijin. You get that soba meba, anju kya, de kya ameba, mommy mige shiros, or did that. The anju shiba boy said, anju something mige in this is Shadamazan resina. Since she had that, they're going to also go up into us. So Geshe so ya do it. She also just had to dig into us. She said, this is she does so good. She said, this is the Nilet gets on ya Javana. Tell her also Jessica Mara, Joanna Jungus, you get Shedas on Jessica Mother, also Jessica Maras. Can also give you that Jaguar, Jewish got Jag be wrong to call you. And Kora could do something or the get over. The Jigmundua. This one, says the only that what you remundus, but that is what.
So now we'll be looking at page 171 at the bottom and flip the page 172. That's where we are looking at. And so as the debate continues, we said, so why is that? You know, things seems to be very random and only occasional, right? And if Ishvara as a permanent cause has brought them, then they should not be occasional. They should exist permanently like the cause itself, right? Why is that? And now those who subscribe to that will say, you know what? No, because the Ishvara is also dependent on other causes and conditions to produce all these things. Other things, you know. So now they said, well, mathematics, well, there's an issue here, isn't it? If Ishvara is dependent on other causes and conditions to bring things into existence, right, then what need is there for the Ishvara? Those causes and conditions, right, really are responsible for producing the effects, results, in other words, you know. So there is no need for Ishvara. Now Ishvara seems to be dependent on other causes and conditions, right? For something to be brought, it has to have a substantial cause. It has to have cooperative conditions. So if Ishvara need all of those things to produce something, well, those are the real causes of things, and there is no need for Ishvara. So that means Ishvara does not have the power to say, what, I can make things, I can unmake things. I have a wish to that. But Ishwar has no such power. It doesn't depend on his intention or wish. It's dependent upon other causes and conditions, right, to produce things. So that's why it is not feasible there. I think it will come later, but then it also says when the necessary causes and conditions assembles, Ishwar even cannot stop them producing the results because they have to happen. Right? If necessary causes and conditions have assembled together, Ishwar cannot stop them from producing their results. If the necessary causes and conditions are not there, Ishwar even cannot make things happen. So they are contingent upon necessary causes and conditions. So therefore, Ishwar as permanent is an unnecessary thing. There is no need for Ishwar here. Right? Yeah.
There is also some people any best simple munde nyawa so dunge kanga onju shigori ti na onju ti doa chamgen shagmara ko nyu sing sha ro o ti so da ani da dunge ti onju ko masam bal ko ke wona ne e dunge kanga shiwa bo onju isa di ge ro se da onju ko shesi dunge ti ke ji ne onju ti be kanga simple ta di chamge ko chap do ta ma da onju isa di ge ro dunge jara ko jonge da onju re di ro se da ti se chap do re mu se ti ta ti de lo cha de wo di do ka.
So if Ishwar is asserted as a cause of everything, creator, well, in that school of thought, then the hell beings and hell experiences are created by the Ishwar, isn't it? You know? So if that's what you say, well, then Ishwar is not a refuge. It's not a savior of sentient beings. Ishwar is the troublemaker. I mean, you created all this unnecessary hell for the sentient beings, right? What are you doing here? I mean, Geshe didn't say that, sorry. That's a footnote, you know. But if you say, no, Ishwar is not responsible for that, there's something else, right, that created the cause and condition. Well, now you said Ishwar is not the cause of the hells, isn't it? The hell suffering, Ishwar is not responsible. Something else has produced their suffering. So therefore, you cannot say that Ishwar is the creator and cause here. But if you say Ishwar is the creator, well, then Ishwar is not a refuge for these miserable sentient beings and the protector, as you claim, because Ishwar is responsible for all this hell experience.
Devala leva ramaje banyamba jola ene chawad shina onju tabe ngobo kaya yinde tabal shaji mere shina lekso shina onju doe jimba bozu omenjimbo le tena tishi Joanna, Jesus, she was going to send them in June. Get the onju dying, get the onju Joanna, Joa Chasso, them in June. She saw gay, Rigbe Goban Zedos, not in Omanjimbo. Oteria, here. Omanjing was not there. Omanjing was at the talking about the Lindesia, Omanjing was at your deeds, the Tina on the guy, Jigway, she was also Jesus, she also go around and go on, she would take Maris. And go on the jump to Rigmarco, Simia Dugan Ganganyang. Because no song is also radio. So the Delia call it Yajia that lad is Redo Maras. So the Omanibu Castle like she has this water. Omanibu said in this year.
So in this extensive commentary, Baba Viveka's essence of the middle way, Omanyingbo, has been cited. So in which Baba Viveka, Lengdenche, refuted Ishwar. A permanent cause there. And what as Geshe explained before, and Baba Viveka says, Ishwar is the creator of everything, then he's a creator of the hells and the hell experiences. So from that point of view, then the hell beings cannot take refuge in Ishwar. He's not a savior. He is the, troublemaker there. He didn't say that, but, right? But on the other hand, you say, no, Ishwar did not create the suffering. Then there is something else caused the suffering. So now Ishwar could not have created everything, So that's what Baba Viveka, mentions in his Essence of the Middle Way, treatise.
Tela mudi chedaba khanda lula se nange ne tawa tamji de song jeda sabsa hini tamji song mai be ji she sha hin jungshi du nam du jin nam de tawa yin la tene nyuji tamji ge sumshi yin de yijin Dujeng kita be rakbam ni, meda ko she mawa deda yang ni, ngar kahin tena duya me jebe se, kahin dujeng shami go be se, rigwe daosin de she so, jani kebe onju be deva deda. Mede par masih sedap beres, look there, mede che dos, or there da bah kerja, onju da bah juisin kasa bah, ta kaji dude da bah is, dude da bah is kerja, thamu jide shau jide du, ini rira kau jide, dia ya jida thamu tu Dude Sami Hikering or so Dude Sami the Dava is order. That they do Ravare without shower. So the Dude Sami the Dava is that Pesha, the Sidawa to do. What it that Dude Sami Dava Sami said that Dava good Dava in the core Yaman Dibiteva, Yaman and Dibuna majority, and the own Zulisha and Chihuahua.
No, so.
What they
So we are still on page 172 of the same translation by Stephen Batchelors, and so now we are looking at Chetaba, Vaisheshikas, okay, not Vaibhashika, Vaisheshika's school of thought, where they assert that partless particles are permanent, and these are the causes of universe. So now we have seen different schools of thought asserting different permanent causes, right? A permanent person is a cause of everything, okay? And then we have a permanent self as a cause of everything. So we have seen those things are not feasible or refuted. So now the Vaisheshikas are saying that when the first universe come, there were these partless particles, subtle. Those partless particles are permanent. But then as they accumulate and aggregated more, these gross particles are impermanent, right? The initial partless particles are permanent, but these gross particles are impermanent, right? Then again, the logic is the same. How could partless permanent particles can create everything? All the argumentations we have put forward to refute Ishwar applies to the same thing here, right?
Go there, da, Karsa, somebody never do it. Go, Tomo, so come what you could tell her. So I may do it. She's a young nanny. Sarah, he knows, so she was Tavayimba. So ye, so say it, then by he, no, you know, that's all be. Joy Jimba, Changxin Bata, dear do. Dear Ning of the dew the Mumbai, you this of China Bay, Nega, Nizu, or Shesha, Rabdi, Jede, Keleba Shela. This is Shamanebe, Nega, Doa de Namjuimba Judos. 다 정신에서 지도서这个时候是吧？
No.
这个现在他朝你这样啊，我说他能把那别些就是嘛，刚刚两百年开那个是吧？
Not
我的知道这个是现在人家开那个，让这个同路开那个都，我的咱们这第二的，但是的长寿是的，现在这个同人家开那个的，
no.
我听说。
No. So the next, the philosophical standpoint is from the enumerators or samkhayas we call Tangchenpa. And they assert that there is Jiso, literally means the primordial principle or primordial substance. And then they talk about, in their school of thought, 25 objects of knowledge. Everything that exists belong to these 25 categories or 25 objects of knowledge. You call Sheja Trangsenga. Just like Buddhists say, all phenomena can be subsumed under two truths, right? So they talk about all things, right? They are part of these 25 objects of knowledge. So that primordial principle or the primordial substance, Shiso, is defined as a balanced state of these three things. Actually, as Geshe explained some time ago, the three feelings, isn't it? Pleasurable, unpleasurable, and neutral feelings. When they're all in a state of balance, equanimity, that is the, primary, primordial principle or the substance. When they get hacked out of balance, then all things happen. Manifestations happen. The world happens, right? That's their theorization about the world system.
我对他长寿现在，其实就在宁修这边，我对现在女生啊，长天呢在接触啥的，可是这时候的接触啥的，就年度大型是下降嘛，是个对吧？是，你们有的是下降嘛，是的，年度大型是个是，对吧？东个大型，我这下降不可能在做事也没事我的，他真的可。 참만 요새 숙제좀 쇼어서 남줄 쓰고 줄려고 다 남줄 어제 참냐면 내가 그 뭐야 매요새 통야 미 통야다 라고 주야들 요말다 다그 참면형도 저 소리도 더워도 통해서 이니 그 통야다 라고 생각하는 거리 어디서 그래 그 유도서 되어서 얘도 가가 유일 세월 가서 가서 배도 속 도는 아니 동해자도 내와자 용으로 그래서 뭐 내와디 유일이와 캐는 거라고 맞아 내와디 유일이와 말고 속 유일 제 내와디 소도 유일 지고 되시다 거기서 장점에서 내와 유일자 되시고 그러다 콜이야 콜든 내와자에도 콜 동해 내와요래 콜도 동해자에도 콜 동해요래 얘도 가가 유일 ഭാष하고
So some kayas or the enumerators, as Geshe explained, primordial substance or principle, Chiso, is a state of balance of these three things with different labels, but primarily the balance of pleasurable, unpleasurable, and neutral feelings. When things are in a state of balance, then it's imperceptible. You cannot see it, you cannot grab it, okay? Now, when things are in, out of balance, some are stronger, some are weaker, then the manifestations happen. Then according to them, now you can see them, you can grab them, right? That's their explanations here. And so in their schools of thought, these feelings, which from our point of view are very subjective here, right, on the side. But they said these feelings actually exist in the objects, isn't it? If you look at a form, you're happy, the happiness is in the form. If you look at a form and you're upset and you're not happy, that unhappiness is in the form, right? That's what they say. Because these are in the form, that's what you experience it. If happiness and suffering, unhappiness are not in the form, then you won't experience it. That's how they put everything in the object there.
我这在长期学习你这样的的，这做些的，可是希望不做的个这做的的用过是吧？这做的被那么就是刚刚被考呀，就是刚刚这做的个那大的了，我就考试，那考的话是。抗战时的咱那这个抗战这个这个电影这个呢，我写的这个都是那考那考试个时候，这做一把过呢，这做的大人的看着啥的可能，是还考的这做用着的还考用是，这做定不出就是个的，我这菜呢，大的这做看些呢，对对他道理说的，他就做样子看这点考过了，他这做看着写到说呢，他们道理讲过的。
So some kinds of enumerators, their whole theorization about, being trapped in samsara or attaining nirvana is explained this way. Okay? That primordial principle of the substance is the creator of everything, isn't it? So when things are out of the balance, then all manifestations happen, then the self is trapped by all these things. Now you have too many things to enjoy, too many things to deal with. This is called samsara, right? Primordial substance that created all these manifestations, and so now you are trapped in all these manifestations and dealing with them. Okay? But at somewhere on the way, you develop clairvoyances, right? And then with that clairvoyant power, now you can look at the primordial substance, you are pulling all these threads, right? You are the one who created all these things and made me trapped here. Now I see you. Okay? So when you see that truth, so to speak, now you and the primordial substance are separated, right? And this is where, you are not playing the game according to the tunes of the primordial substance, and now you attain nirvana. The moment you realize primordial substance is making you go through this drama ramas, I say, okay, now I see you are the one, now I don't want to be part of the drama ramas. So this is where you get the nirvana, liberation from samsara. Okay.
What did that Changsheng do the Hindu? So the day, she said, you think the Jizu, and then Jibu. You can't get told the jury. That you go, you say, you didn't have my that was your no, she said, you say, what goes out of the John, what did shall what did you do? Said that shall go, you think go guessing you know the sea, the number had the Shamado in the 过没大人那不没有早东西这碰不下那意思，这什么东西是吧？是天连天都个下都是呢，我打我这个就是这么的小个他，可是快就三个的就用过呀的，我这那么长有那就三个推的抗杀的，就人都抗杀的个推我是么就在现在抗杀就说是，就是小么的，就是那头是吧？다 코도 계신 요아 샤무다 자 메다베스네 메베레스도 코 지빈 요금도사 이거 다다바 샤고 지데도 데샤리다 치루가 다다바 지바 샤고라
노선 시니 생활 나는 게 지소지고데 주일라 디부마잉들 와게
지소데 주일라 디부마잉게
디메바 지금
디부 유네 가야 마잉게 다 시다들 야 저도 디부니가 이게 야 디부지고 이게 카시도 샤
So in their school of thought, some kayas or tangsen by enumerators, because we said they present 25 objects of knowledge, right? Primordial principle or substance, shiso, is a cause and never a result, okay? And permanent self is neither a cause nor a result. Then they also say that among these 25, then there are 6 of them which are both cause and results, and then there are others which are results but not causes. Well, this is how they have quite and they're one of the very old schools of thought actually there. Presents those things. And the reason why in many, not only Samkhayas, other schools of thought, they accept permanent self is for them, if self is impermanent, they couldn't really assert impermanence as Buddhists talk about, right? Momentary disintegration, but something can still continue, right? Continue. They feel that if something's permanent, when it gets destroyed or dissolved, then it could not exist anymore. So then they said, well, if self is impermanent, then if something happens to self, right, it ceases to exist, then we have no basis for karma and everything else. So then we can't talk about nirvana and samsara, right? The whole basis is put under my right feet. I can't talk about it. So therefore, self has to be permanent. So now I can explain, right, karma and those things, and that's why they just think that self has to be permanent. But Buddhists say that, something can be impermanent, that undergoes momentary changes or disintegration, but it could still exist eternally, or it can continually exist, right? So they are not able to conceptualize that. For them, that's just difficult. So that's why many schools say self has to be permanent. Don't tell me it's impermanent. Then we have no basis for everything, That's the fear.
Yonde som shanya ba des. Yonde so na dimi indo se adriba. Yuji momba she. Indo se som shi dedu ta yin som se go risa. Dedu ta yin shanya ne ka. Chamanyu so da dimu di re namju re go shanya be na zu se o di zo. No. Kaza jube kaza dimi indo so ne de Dibuning so Rimper doing time there was sometimes when they do time something. That Damo Shaksumji Ming number is Shada Mozu Mason that they do time the Jibaris was. Shada Monsu Lashon. They do time Shada Mozu Jibaris was. Chamun Kaza. Damo Shaksumji Ming number is Yinas. No. You know, Juba Dani Mumbane. Do you said Legato Curse you are the in part changing part Juba till Juris. Juba Dani Mumbane, Chiwa, Mubasa this or that Cursa Misiwa, Yom because Tissue Marie Cursa. On the Hineka, the Yungura Cursa. Shiwada good. No Shiwata will go to Nova Saji. Geshe here, I said the Delta Zorta. Cursa. You the moon, the moment Shantos, what is it? No, no, did it. Yes. Did it. Yingdom say, no, is that Yingdom said, because you are the Sevi. He will use or she was a. No, sir. Was that? No. Ranjin Joda, Namjun Jibur Dodos. Ranjis and that Jus that you was here. Namjus and that Jews that you were considered. Just those you were the Ranji. No. That Jibut Chutu, the Jew that was Jureka, my myself. Till how much the Jureka, the Namjus was that.
So in the extensive commentary, some of the characteristics of primordial principle or substance, Chicho, are presented. Of course, one primordial principle or substance, Chicho, is a creator, right? That's one. The second one is that that itself has never been produced by anything. So it's unproduced, majeba. That it is a partless, chame, okay? And that it is not a cognition, it is an object, right? It's not a cognition perception, it's an object. And it's a state of balance of those three things. So earlier we defined the state of balance in terms of feelings, right? Pleasurable, unpleasurable, and neutral. But then sometimes they use other terminologies to talk about the same thing, and sometimes they use it's a balance of attachment, anger, and ignorance, right? That's what they call it. So that balanced state is a primordial substance, a principle, and out of balance is the manifestations happen. And permanent self is neither a cause nor an effect. And primordial substance is also called rangshin, nature, if you will. So sometimes they use the word called dul, literally means particle. It is defined in terms of mobility, yoga, right? The dul is defined in terms of yoga, means mobility. Then they talk about minpa. Minpa means, the darkness, if you will. So that's more to do with something that obscures, right? Seeing something, almost like ignorance kind of thing. Then they talk about the nyingdop, which is courage. That's defined in terms of understanding, right? In terms of knowing, sheba. So a balanced state of these three things, particle, the darkness, or whatever you call it, ignorance, and the courage, again, is another way of labeling, is a primordial substance or a principle there. So we will stop there today, and we will welcome your question. Let me get this page number here, and yes, you don't have? Okay, so we can go here. Anybody would like to start? Question? Yeah.
I thought I'd play a little devil's advocate today. As we're talking about the notion of the creator God from the perspective of Christianity, which is pretty much almost exactly the same as the Muslim one too, and Ishvar, and the Muslim one. And then I looked at, see, this is something you would remember. In their book of John, in the King James Bible, they actually say something very interesting, which starts to sound like Madhyamaka. They say in the beginning was word, like you impute. And the word was with God. So the creator and the imputation were together. And the word was God. So basically the word was the creator. So things came into existence by imputing. So this is where maybe we can say they're seeing things as a person, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, they say things like this. So
summarize it first. In the beginning, there was a God, and then God created and labeled them. Is that what you say? That's where the Madhyamika connection you're making?
Yeah, well, it is. Here it is. They saying in the beginning.
Yes.
In the beginning was the word. There was an imputation. Things started. Basically, things came into creation by imputation. Something came into existence by being imputed.
Who imputed it? God?
Well, that's what they say now.
Okay.
And the word was with God. So they're saying they were together. The creator and the imputation came together.
Okay.
And then they're saying the word was God. So the creator and the imputation are what's bringing something into existence. So all I'm saying is we can oversimplify the Christian and say, hey, it's just a guy who created everything. But at the same time, they say things like this. So I think it's a little more complicated than just simplifying their view and saying they just have a creator God, like a guy sitting on a chair with a beard and he just judges everybody and all that. Maybe that's how simple people may understand it, but in their books, and even in Islam, they actually have a couple of verses where that sounds, they say God is not born, not ceasing. It's almost like saying Masam Jumishera Paroshim. They have actually things that sound like that too. And they refuse to say that God has a body form like a human. God is more space-like in essence. So starts to sound like Masam Jome again. So a lot of those, I think what I'm trying to say is a lot of those other views, they seem as if they're all trying to point to something. And I think the Buddhist view may be like, We like to say that we're more accurate than they are, but we seem to, almost all of us being pointing to the same thing, which is trying to make sense of what's sacred and what's not sacred. How did something come into existence? How did
the beginning to start, correct? In the beginning was word.
that's what they say.
Yeah, so that's a big difference. There's no beginning. It's not so similar.
Yeah, but at the same time, you see, if you say in the beginning there's words, so when we also say
Word meaning what?
like imputation.
Language.
Yeah, like somebody imputed something. But also in the Madhyamaka view, it says there's nothing. There's the absence of inherent existence, and reality comes into existence by merely being imputed. So this is where we're kind of maybe talking about the same thing.
But it starts in the beginning. It's the first word.
But somebody may have, but it's the same thing. If you think about in the Buddhist point of view, somebody imputed something. How did things come into existence? We say things are merely imputed. Somebody had to impute it, yeah? So, and then comes the chicken and the egg thing. The person was there and they imputed, but the person's merely imputed, so the person wouldn't have been existing without being imputed as well. So it gets to be a little,
Okay, so
What's the
here's
word?
thing, the way I understood, there's something you're trying to make a point here, see if I got it right? Because I've never studied Christianity, so I don't know whether there was a good word. So number one, what you're probably saying is, correct me, that if we look at what you just described based on the King James Bible or whatever that version
in John,
is,
yeah.
that from this point of view, maybe certain characteristics of the God may be problematic, but there are other things like there was a word in the beginning, looks like imputation, so that so we cannot refute everything there. Is that the point you're trying to make there? So Buddhists are, is that the point or is that not the point? I made it up.
You did make it up. Well,
what's
I'm
the
saying things
question?
are not as simple as we have been speaking
Sure,
about.
yeah.
It's quite a bit more complicated than that. And yes, we can take
So let
certain
me understand
aspects
the
of their
word one.
view.
That's more interesting. In the beginning, there was a word. Means even before God, there was the word, and the God came later, or what?
No, it says here. This is their book,
Yeah.
okay? It says in the beginning was the Word,
The
and the Word was
okay.
with God.
The
Were
Word.
so the and the. Well, yeah, there's a the. I know we find that
So it must
interesting.
be
in
one.
Buddhist. Then they're saying that the Word was with God. So God and imputation were arising together into
see.
reality.
Yeah.
And then the Word was God. So basically, the Word is what created.
Okay.
The imputation is what brought something into existence.
Okay.
So I'm just saying this is a little bit more complex
Sure.
than we
I got your point, right? Not overly simplifying. So it's more like observation, right? That was no question. But I would like to share with Geshe so that he thinks what is going on here, right? Ale ta mora samje she der wa tiwa min du ro again. Ta ta na ngan de ya wang ju tak ba da ji ka de she ro wa. Cho chen de sam ta ba ne yishu ki ta da kun jo de ji de test da bo de ro again. Yishu ki kun jo che ba bok du ge ro again. De da bo de du sa ro wa. Yen ya cho chen de she bi na yishu ki na de ya da kun jo ki che jo she de ga li ya. Ta mora sam lo ro again di. Jik de Tamo Majung any Kunjogi that the Nian di ores can the Jabasa or Angazina talk about officer 6 years, Dinium the Kunjo Chungores, right? Sidu Galangaza Nangbe ki Shandak Shungla Tedu Gal Zam Rawage, G Kalsa Konja Lab Shower di bet the Namsa Yogzing Saburis Rawage. Mother Chigla Lavaji Sangman Pa Chika Chojo of the I used the Mother some judgment Rawage, Chiwa Marda Rawage. Manjo Konji di Chemachi Mashina Kai or Marwage. The gang consideration that another under the Karsore Chiribe Shun Hindu Kasha, they get Ganga that got you in the cargo, Rawage. That you should the Danga Kai, but then go to Marwage. Shema. The gang the consideration in a minute.
You should see what
You should control the test. Tanda Wanju Nashi Satin, but the young Junze Mangache, then test Mandagi, what I catch you, Sarawage.
You should tell a deli Kanje. You should call a tambo there's any Nanzachi question. They are Deva Pansa, Direk Lam, Rebachi here. Kunjo, he said, I got the Shungri said, got tambo Nanzachi Bache. And then I got Lam Yamslan, Kunjo Red, and Tireka Kaimida.
No, sir. Like me do one now.
Kakayamara. Sita Chiruba, the only Tapa, the Chibadi, what I call Kunjo Redu, Judesia Chago Mara.
That one. They in a one election thing, 다 건지 견제 로드 가올라 차산 하고는 마시다 가요 말스러하게
Really,
닌데르 슬랍신 되게나게
really,
러버게
really.
다 고차지 간로 I think the sense I'm getting from Geshe is of course we don't know anything about Christianity so we do not want to oversimplify or say anything so especially in the cyberspace people are listening right we are not making any judgments here about Christianity because that's not debated in the context of that. We are dealing with non-Buddhist schools of thought, in my footnote, primarily Hindus. So those who have studied, debated for centuries, they studied each other texts, so they knew what they're doing, not like, they half understood, half, and that's the whole issue, right? With the Christianity, the point if we are making is that if there is a complexity there, before you even say or argue, you have to understand all the complexity, right? Then you may be able to debate. You cannot be half-backed, right? Okay, God is permanent, and now, right, that part we could deal, but we cannot refute everything but that. There's something else, right? So that's what Geshe would like to say. But one thing what Geshe makes is, which is interesting, I guess, for him, is he didn't talk about God as creator, is that in his understanding, right, if you know anything, we can share that thought. He has not come across anybody saying that in the Christianity, they don't have a story to tell how the God has gone through, so to speak, the paths and stages and growth and the purification, then become a God, right? So he thought that's kind of interesting, right? So if anybody wants to be God, I don't know whether it's possible or not. So there has to be that, So that's what Geshe said. Okay. Yes.
All right. So this was from, I guess, an earlier comment that Geshe gave comment on. It's about the three gunas, the three gunas, which is the Hindu philosophy, the three gunas, the three forces, the sattva, rajas, and tamas.
Oh, the balance state of those three things?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he's saying that these don't seem the same. They don't seem to be the same as the three feelings.
What?
They don't seem to be the same as the three feelings that is mentioned, I guess, in the commentary. And so he's wondering if the Hindus define these three qualities differently from the way the Buddhist theorists seem to interpret them as.
Okay.
So that's his question.
Okay, so my understanding is that whoever's asked the question, the primordial principle of substance, which is a state of balance of the three things, and we explained as the three feelings or the attachment, ignorance, whatever, that looks like Buddhist explanation. That's not how the Hindus accept it.
Correct.
That's the point he's making.
Yeah, it seems like there's.
So what would the Hindus say, or if he knew it? Tell us. That may be a good contribution here.
Okay.
So what is the balance of the three things according to that particular school of thought? It's not the three feelings, so what is it?
Okay. I mean, I don't know.
Okay,
That's
then
his
I know.
question.
Okay. Okay, so but I'll make that point to Geshe, right? Okay.
Yeah.
At least somebody shared a thought, right? Maybe he has no answer and we have no answer. Taking under the Chiso second the NA caso Tidu Tangyo some Chanya Bajula Wage, Yamana the Dajashatan Timus or Wage. The Chiwatanga de Lavina di Nangbe de Se Japson is a Chanya Barawage, Tidu Tangyo son. Hindu Koran Shung the Shebe in a Tidu Tangyo some Chanya Bajizo Lagimendus are Wage. That Lagimena Karela Budus Tea or what the Korala Lime Doge, and like Naranika machine which of the Shartse.
Correct is the doing of some, you the Mumbai of some.
This segment. So did he use the words as we gave before, particle, darkness, and courage, or something else? But those are different terms, but referring to the same thing.
Well, he's saying, I guess, he's defining these the sattvas, like the sattva.
Oh yeah, there's a raja and sattva and whatever is all there, but it means the same thing as that, unless he can explain that those are different, right?
Yeah, because the way he says sattva is like goodness, calmness, harmonious.
What?
Right. He's saying
Can you go a
sattva,
little slow because that's new to me. Sattva is what?
goodness, calmness, harmonious.
Goodness, okay.
Right. And then rajas are passion, activity, and movement. Sorry, I'll slow down.
Raja is mobility.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then tamas are ignorance.
Okay, so we are almost same there, right? Except the goodness part there, I think. The true, just a footnote, if I'm sitting on a committee and have to pass a graduate student. Out of 3, you got 2 answers right, you pass your exam. There. So I think, okay, so we got the mobility we said before. We said ignorance and the darkness are same. The one thing he brought is the goodness, right? I think that's the courage, maybe, if I see it that, right? Right? So anyway, if he can ever come back with clarity, right, then I appreciate and we'll deal with that. So let's come back. Is there more on the, more questions? If not, we'll come back here. Did it? Can I just Pale out of just a maybe Tiki Pale might do sin a chill have the Pale out of your searches, but assume this did you want to shout?
So, about, not to belabor the issue, but about what Rainer was saying was that we're not to take it literally, what they're saying. So we're not to take it literally that there is a creator God.
Okay.
There is a beginning.
Okay.
No, she's saying that just like, but that was not my point. Yes, definitive and interpretive, so not to take.
Okay.
But about the refutation of Christianity, interesting thing I just came across that in fact, Dharmakirti refuted the main. There's the biggest theologian philosopher, Thomas Aquinas. Saint Aquinas. Yes. So he came up with a proof that God exists. So because they have to prove that God exists. So he came with the proof that God exists. And he did that in I think it must be in 13th century.
Right.
But Dharmakirti in the 6th century refuted that particular proof, even though it was not existent. Exactly the same. It's eerily similar. It's amazing.
That's interesting. I see.
Yeah. It's called the proof from design. You mentioned the word design, like the designer God.
Right, I remember hearing this. Thomas Aquinas did like so many reasons, right? Then I did.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where Dharmakirti came up with, who at that time gave that as a proof of the existence. It's not known, but in the 2nd chapter, I'm sure Geshe, in the 2nd chapter, Pramana Vartika, Geshe knows it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kurang this is the Kurang some Geshe Rawage, and issue Mashikagi, the Kunjo Rawage, Kunjo Sangaji Yoba Dogo Rawage, Chidu Jara Jushi Nalia, the Konzugi, but Kiawachimbushimizi, Thomas Aquinas Sangaji Orege. They then Kora Jumze Mangoshi town, Kunjo Yubik Rawage, Jumze Mangoshi share Resa Rawage. Then a Kurang better law to do on the Jara Truben on the Pande Chodag Rawage, than the Semanam Den or Luniva Rawage. The Dean Halia Kushi Jumze Kangalo Pakasha Shasa Rawage. Kurgi Kunjo Yubit Jugua, Jara Jushina. That you Truben on the Kandeshavina. Than the Pande Chodag Rawage. The Odi Kasha Shasa, the Korasam Jushir, than the Namde Luniban are again on the Karishungur again. The test Namde Lunibe judges so Sonshana on the Pempomedo. Sema Namde Luniban are the judges so the Carrera again.
You saw the Thomas Hamilton do there.
No, so.
Set of lyrics.
Geshe is going to be very few words per person. I'm trying to encourage him more. That's where I stuck. I said, because he said, because the 2nd chapter of Paramana Vartika, I said, Geshe, can you talk a little bit about
this? That when say here, that lonely on the Nangwed, because Tabatabisha, Namja, Legion, Namja, Jorva, Long Sonja, or to get the regret on the 3rd Tanya, don't have the tradition.
So that's a little more. So in the 2nd chapter of Pramana Vartika, right, Vedic cognitions by Dharmakirti, the main sort of the focus of the subject matter is to establish that Buddha is a valid person, right? And the reason why he decided to do that was because in many other Buddhist texts, so many statements of Buddha have been quoted. Well, Buddha said there's nirvana. Buddha said there is samsara, right? And he said, well, that's just Buddha said, right? So he writes beyond what Buddha said he said through reasoning, right? He establishes, right, that Buddha is a valid person, right? That's the main focus of the, you understand? Good. Anybody else would like? Oh, yes, go ahead. Oh, I have a phone here. I thought, what is this phone doing here?
Yeah, that kind of, I think, explains.
Okay, so this is
Sattva,
okay. So
Rajas,
right. I'll read it for the sake of all of you, right? Because, the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. This is in the translation here. These are the fundamental forces or attributes that influence all things in the universe, including our mind, bodies, and behaviors. Sattva means purity, harmony, light, balance, wisdom. It promotes virtues like clarity, calmness, and spiritual growth. Rajas embodies passion, activity, energy, desire. It drives ambition and action, but can lead to restlessness and attachment. Tamas signifies inertia, darkness, ignorance, lethargy. It can result in confusion, negativity, and lack of motivation. So a balanced state of these three things is considered, right? Primal substance, and now I'll just translate back to Geshe. That the meeting the implication okay. What the ganzo karsora did tang some chan kasata tang some chan yong bala ane jizo labra la wage. That din alia konzo that the do that exchange or wage. This and all day you do that when I said to Galanganzo Timbachi or wage. That karsora Timbata, that Takanashi Chanyong Bata, and a share of the then the Takanashi Dirwa Kasa Shideta, and it gets Hamalolia contra this figure again, and that Karso or no, the Karadir Wagen, and do love us or wagon, do that the order Liata came someone I sent your name and do you can cut it. Did the insert do Casa do ying up? Do Sirwage. That you didn't ying up the insert, ying up the Liata and the timber down, then a chan yamba down, then a share of the Digasha Wage. The Duke Sabdelia Tanda Didu Takasore Yoda, Rovage, and then Debata, Rovage. That the Chetaba in a Denny Kasore Dejatia, the Yungres. That other Mimbache, Mimbache, Rovage, Nyopto Chet, Rovage, Migeba Cheta, and a Kulo Majum, but the Digate Kanga did this. I did Takata Tetagina. Soon as 7 nations and the called Gavake Yomar, but the just. So I mean, at the moment, thinking on his feet, so to speak, his Geshe said there's no contradictions with what is already said there, right? Maybe there's a little more elaboration there, right? Okay. Thank you for providing it.
May I just ask, with regards to Ishvara,
Yes.
is he considered a long life God, a samsaric God,
Okay.
or a wrong conception, wrong awareness?
Sure. Nanda again, Wangju says you again. Wangju. Wangju again. Wangju said the Nekar Sore Chela Sigre Vesa Chela Rovage. Jigdembe Chela Sigre, the Menokora Yanji, Dindegi, Chile made the Yolhachre Carres again.
Onju said that Hindu in the Onju Shimba Jomari.
It's Chela Sig in a minute.
Yeah.
Hindus look at Chela, Manzina Gendi or Vacarsor to Chogas or then the Chela Sig in a minute.
Say last me says the Kamari, that Carse. Onju said Carse.
What's it Jigden but Sig Marvala, Jigden le David Sig Euro,
Jideva around it, Jidem, they were the Mari.
Matangazo Jigden Berwag, Paranzo Jigden le David Sigmero.
Koran said Jidem, they were the language.
The minute they would be sang you to show again.
Did the injury?
Actually, I think from Hinduism point of view, I don't know whether all Hindus believe in Ishwar, most of them. Is I think one of the perhaps the most important principal gods. Not I don't think they necessarily regard as a longevity deity or a god. Of course, from Buddhist point of view, I mean Ishwar is still what we call non-transcendental God form. but maybe Hindus might differ. They say, no, he's a transcendental being, right? So that's kind of difference there. Right. Yeah.
From Buddhist point of view, isn't Ishvara a desire realm god? Like the highest level of the six, god of controlling others' emanations, something like that.
Dollar D2, the Tandanganzo Chanagan, dollar D2 Yorwage, the Nang Tej Maravesa, Wangju, Hashing, Shindu, one day, Shingi,
dollar to do the Tibelagan, you get on
the Dogam Glass Chador, the Hashingi Kasura, the Hashing, Tibetan, Wang Chen, the Kagu, and
couldn't that Tibelagan tired of Shansi.
In a Nangbeg, that's your again.
Right.
Yes. In the Buddhist, how should I say, treatise, he's regarded as a very important Hindu. There is yes, desire realm god. Yes, very powerful one actually. Yeah.
What is the Vajra prong argument? What in its most condensed form? Like things do not inherently exist because. Yeah, because that's what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Toja segment tenji yorwage. Toja segment tenji yorwage. Toja segment tenji di ba dum devushe bi narwage. Ta tar shku ge narwage. Kara re de sa toja segment tenji segment kari chet go re sarwage. Shwe tam je rangshing madu re senen ta shku ben kan shku go sa toja segment tenji.
This was tashi yawa go we what.
Gyula chebe toja segment tenji yorwage.
La.
Gyula chebe toja segment tenji yorwa. Sidi ta ji ta shku be na.
That's it. When you choose in Thai colony, we get the basis and then you basis and then do get that. Because Thai job over was your
Tashi did Dala magician and my
tell those who did call her shitters do.
Right. So Vajra pronged literally analytical reasoning, we call Torja Segma, because Vajra has prongs, right? Is usually considered as reasoning to investigate causes. But if one could put in if possibly in a simplest syllogism, we can say that a sprout is not produced in any of the four extreme modes of production because it's a dependent arising, or we can even say because it exists. So the four modes of productions are production from self, production from other, production from both, and production without causes, right? So those are the prongs, so to speak, right? That's the way it is used. Yeah. Okay. We can take one more, and then we have some announcement, prayer requests, anything, if you have anything. No? All right, so let's go for then the announcement, Gusho.
We have a couple of announcements to make before we read out today's prayer requests. The first announcement is that this upcoming Saturday, July 5th, is a talk day. So please mark that in your calendars. We'll be having a talk offering at 7:30 as with our usual talk offerings. So this upcoming Saturday is a talk day. The second announcement is the commemoration of His Holiness the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday, and then the 14th birthday of Drugu Tenzin Dorjee. We'll be celebrating His Holiness's birthday and Drugu Dorjee's birthday on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, after teachings, as we do yearly. And so we'll be cutting the question and answer session short, so that we have ample time to offer prayers and then honor His Holiness's birthday and Dugut Tarder's birthday with cake. And so, yes, just wanted to remind everyone of that. We do have announcements on the website as well, just in case you need more details. But that is the second announcement about this weekend. And then the third announcement is in regards to money recitations that we said we would be tallying up and totaling at the end of, or at the beginning of this month. Last month we said that from June 1st until July 1st, we had requested our students and everyone to add and to do money recitations as part of their daily practice, or as much as they could during the month, and that we would be adding those up on July 1st. And so we'll actually be taking your totals, how many ever that you were able to do, on next Sunday, after teachings as well. So please keep that in mind. And then we did mention from June 1st to July 1st, but because we won't be collecting your tallies until Sunday, July 6th, you have until then. And so Geshe and I will be printing out a sheet where you can write your name, how many recitations you were able to do, and then from what day you started until what day you ended. And so, yes, I just wanted to give everyone a heads up before we do that next Sunday, in alignment with birthday celebrations for His Holiness and Tenzin Dorjee. Today's prayer requests for those who have recently passed are prayers for Venerable Standard Baker, who was a deacon and a pioneer for LGBTQ rights. He passed away in Vermont. Please keep Venerable Standard Baker in your prayers and dedications. Along with Venerable Standard Baker, please keep those who have recently passed in your prayers and wishes as well. May they be free from all suffering and purified of all negative karma accumulated since beginningless times. May they be reborn with all precious freedoms and endowments. May they meet the Dharma and a qualified guru and quickly achieve liberation and enlightenment. Prayers for those who are still with us today include prayers for old-time or long-time student, should I say, of GSTDL, John Gleason, or Annie McCormick's husband, who is recovering after a serious condition in the hospital. So please keep John Gleason in your thoughts and prayers. Along with John today, may all sentient beings be free from all obstacles, hardship, and negative karma. May their wishes and prayers be fulfilled. May they be guided by the blessings of the three jewels, and may they experience everlasting peace and happiness. Oh, no, so chibudi man. Ketri tumi jamju shungen tiliya tsele deva ani Standard Baker shungish durwa hong ani pejir yishu ki lama din risha khon chedu tumi jamju narana shujda tsedan demba nane John Gleason sudu any yorwagi ang shuzo giru any yorwa any gi choga John yorwa khon khazan kini mengang do chungdwa nasa kembe ani tanda ya kajana ya tine ani mentene desere khon ge ani nishi sindra yuan tedan yuan ki chedo ani tuminaranas ani September la chopye duage dinde chema September sharwa chopye chi taringa la dine Sunny the sunny ma, and you sung tsane, and you garamchi trunga, ta, and you kusho, dinze tarduki, trunga zewo, the lore, the cake of the sia pune, and you do sia, melam ten shigorba, or this dus, resting to sure.
So we will do I will look this for salutation and mantra dedication first for the deceased reverend or venerable and others, and followed by the medicine Buddha salutation, mantra and dedication for John and others. Okay. Chadong Golun Jube, Yewo Dong, Jendong, Gewa Sangbe, Sangye Dong, Kala Kandu, Dela, Dedum, Jumba, Jenre Sil, Chanze Lo, Om Mani, Bemime, Hum, Mani Bemime. Omane beme hori gawa di nyodo da jere sewan rojone rowa chiyan te salam ba sho toje kwanla nyombe jomden de sanzang tebe ngendu donge dozon de sanje menje la bindu Chanze lo de ta om bekaze ma bekaze ranza samunga de so. Te dam bekaze ma bekaze ranza samunga de so han gawa di nyodo da membe gewo rojo ne rowa jijang te ye salam ge bara sho. Page booklet, page 3. Lord Jiangzi, Yudong, Biagade, Gyasang Pongbe, Judo, Minba Shen, Tenpa Jinla, Wangdo Jijo, Tangyan Chugun Jola, So Wan De, page 5. Ma Wang Dame, Gunjian Dongwa De, Kari Zhongdo, Ninda, Senze, Jamgun Jiawa, Niba Yapse Je, Rangson Tenzi, Mawe, Shiba, Tenzin Chebe, Yingbon Zebe, Xie Nigun Changju, Tenju, Longdo Tamju, Bebe, Beiyun, Nuza Jiazu, Gundo, Shade, Tezang Guangdang, Jezu, Zongbe, Yongzo, Yure, Tube, Nyake, Longri, Dejin, Nubu, Bedenba, Tudin, Kangri, Tabo, Shabden, Dona, Gongmen, Zeba, Namda, Dendan, Rube, Pende, Jube, Lendo Jume Chebe, Tenleje, Gesang Dorjee, Chizi Lame, Toge Melamda, Gesang Dorjee, Dendang, Sangmen, Chozon Dodo, Chido, Chida Memben Dungu Lendo Show, page 9. Ramjan Jingen, Wombo, Seba Men, Zodo Namje, Geyun, Rama Sho, Shosho, Zeye, Hazo, Tamje, Taden Mishe, Choge, Mudozo, Tudin, Chidan, Losan, Yawa, Shiro, Denban, Zembe, Beyun, Tadu, Duje, Jungwe, Shinyin, Yangde, Nije, Wombo, Shabden, Jidin, Sungwe, Chana, Bimbe, Tembe, Azawa, Soso, Tawa, 남다 수된 양다 랑바예 로상 제된 배도 샵데 도조 야제 논제 양배시 삼조 남주 상진 준비 범조 셔라 송조 레베데 덴베 마다 체베 동안 고왕 보조데 제베 리랑 시유 봉자제 준비 된데 레셰 계조 신이 정보 샵된 쇼 개베 랑도 구신 세다제 준비 상변 디제 레고 이제노 숨된 신인 정보 샵된 대상 로랑 제베 된데제 면조 다제 장면 세제 갑전제된 된데 배셔 전대 신인 정보 샵된 쇼 조선 자와 세제 제라 토된 담제 송면 소난제 다자 라상 다베 된 제다면변 등거 른도 쇼 창조 심조 렘보제 마제 바나 제바 냥바 메바 고네 공도 페와 쇼 동니 다와 렘보제 마제 바나 제조제 제와 고네 공도 페와 쇼 사시 베제 조제 메도 장 리라 린시 인데 젠바 상界行的没得为我，如果能到行了，这把说刚的热呗，过了呗，新刚说平常的我忙碌就呗，现在是我天津家族，下边谁的把多点就这一当过入热闹忙的，你养大要命，叫我滚到养大老妈当这边去去别老落。사다 람제 연대 라조 nen 도제 창게 고모 뉴도